The music room was quiet and tucked away at the end of the hall where no one really bothered to go. Noel liked it that way. His fingers moved over the piano keys. The melody was soft, almost sorrowful, something he'd composed last week when sleep wouldn't come. Noel closed his eyes as he played. What he didn't know was that behind the slightly open door, someone was listening. Rhett stood there, one hand against the door frame, his face unreadable. His usual cocky smirk was gone, replaced by something far softer. His eyes followed the way Noel moved. And for some stupid reason, Rhett couldn't stop watching. He didn't understand it. He hated this guy. So why did he feel like the floor shifted every time he looked at him? "You, Rhett." The voice came from behind him, and Rhett jerked away from the door just as his two friends, Logan and Truff, rounded the corner, being loud as always. "Dude, what are you doing?" Logan asked, glancing into the music room. "Isn't that the weird art kid?" Truff peered into, spotting Noel. "Were you listening to him play?" he said, smirking. Rhett's pulse quickens. Shit, he could feel something in his chest twist. "Are you kidding me?" Rhett laughed suddenly, too loud, too sharp. "I was just seeing who the hell was making all that depressing noise. Sounds awful." Inside the room, Noel's fingers stilled on the keys. He stopped playing. He'd heard that. Logan snorted. "Man, that's cold." Rhett shrugged like it meant nothing. "Seriously, what does he even do in there?" Rhett continued, voice full of mockery now, pushing past the guilt that crawled up his chest. "Writing love songs for his sketchbook. He probably thinks he's some kind of misunderstood genius." Noel's chest felt tight. He should have known. Of course Rhett would mock him again. Outside, Rhett turned away from the door, shoving his hands into his pockets like nothing had happened. "Come on," he said. "Let's go before I drown in all that noise pollution." As the trio walked off, Noel sat in silence. He just sat there, hands curled in his lap. That was the thing about Rhett. He never hit you. But somehow, he still knew exactly how to leave bruises. It had been 2 days since the music room incident, and Noel was heading to his locker, hoodie up, sketchbook clutched tight to his chest, when he turned the corner and nearly slammed right into him. Rhett. Of course it had to be Rhett, leaning against Noel's locker like he owned the entire goddamn hallway. Noel stopped dead in his tracks. "Seriously," he said flatly, "you have to block my locker out of all the lockers in the school." Rhett didn't move. "I was bored. Thought I'd spice up my day." "Harassing me is your idea of spicing things up." "No," Rhett said, pushing off the locker and walked toward him. "But watching you get all worked up is pretty entertaining." Noel took a step back automatically, but Rhett stepped forward again. "You look angrier than normal. Is this about the piano thing?" Rhett asked, voice sounding casual but eyes far too serious. "You looked so intense in there. Real tortured artist vibes." "You mean right before you laughed at me in front of your stupid friends?" Noel shot back, chest rising. "Yeah, real inspiring." For a moment, Rhett didn't say anything. Then the smirk slid back into place like a mask. "Come on," he said. "Don't tell me you actually cared what I thought." Noel's hand clenched around his sketchbook. "You're such an asshole." "I'm just honest." "No," Noel said, stepping forward now, anger outweighing his nerves. "You're a coward. You watch me when no one's looking, but the second someone catches you, you pretend I'm a joke." Rhett's expression faltered slightly when he realized Noel knew he had been watching. "Say it to my face," Noel said, voice low, daring. "If I'm such a joke, say it now, just you and me." The hallway around them had mostly emptied, but the tension was full to the brim and overflowing. Rhett's voice dropped to a murmur. "Don't tempt me, pretty boy." Noel stepped in closer, eyes narrowed. "Why not? You've never held back before." Their faces were inches apart now. Noel could feel Rhett's breath, his stupidly nice cologne. Rhett looked at him, glaring, like he wanted to ruin him. Rhett's gaze dropped to Noel's lips just for a second, but Noel noticed, and his heart did something stupid. Then Rhett leaned in just a fraction more, eyes dark. "You really want to know what I think of you?" Noel swallowed, mentally bracing himself. "Yeah, I do." Rhett leaned in. "I think you're a joke." And just like that, he turned and walked off, leaving Noel rooted to the spot. The next day, Rhett noticed it almost immediately. Noel wasn't in the music room that morning, or sketching in the corner of the courtyard during lunch, or even at his locker during break. It was weird. Not because Rhett was looking for him or anything. He just noticed. That's all. By last period, Rhett caught sight of him. Down the hallway, slipping out the back door with his hoodie pulled up, sketchbook clutched tight. He hadn't even looked at Rhett. Not once. Rhett frowned, shifting against Noel's locker he hadn't realized he'd been leaning on for 10 straight minutes. Noel was avoiding him. That wasn't how this worked. Noel's heart was racing as he moved through the back corridor, steps quick and focused. He knew Rhett had seen him. He'd felt those eyes burn into his back like they always did. But he didn't stop. If Rhett wanted him to be dramatic, to snap, to react, he wasn't going to get it. Not today. Not anymore. But it didn't take long. Rhett caught up with him right by the rusty art department dumpsters. His hand slammed against the brick wall beside Noel's head, cutting him off. Noel didn't flinch, didn't even blink. He just glanced up, expression flat. "Can I help you?" Rhett stared at him, breath shallow. "What's your deal?" "My deal? You're ignoring me." "Observant," Noel said coolly. "Must be exhausting, all that brainpower," he said with so much sarcasm. Rhett's brow furrowed. "Are you mad or something?" Noel gave him a look then laughed. "Well, you tell me I'm a joke, insult me, continuously mock me for months, and now you're shocked that I'm not flattered when you show up again. That's not what You don't get to get offended when I don't bow to your attention." Noel cut in, voice still low but sharp. "I'm not your tool, Rhett." Rhett's jaw clenched. "You think I don't know that?" "No, I think you don't care," Noel said, "but it doesn't matter anymore." He turned, slipping out from under Rhett's arm and walking away. He was done. Rhett stood frozen, heart pounding, a strange ache in his chest. He didn't like that look in Noel's eyes. It felt worse than anger. Rhett didn't know what the hell was wrong with him. It shouldn't have mattered. He told himself that over and over. It doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. The next day, Rhett found himself wandering past the music room again. It was empty. Again? He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, frowning like the absence personally offended him. He tried to tell himself that the reason why it affected him was just that he didn't like being ignored. That was it. Except when he tried to focus in class, he found himself staring blankly at the same page for 20 minutes. Except every time he saw someone with a hoodie and sketchbook, his chest jolted and then plummeted when it wasn't Noel. He was pissed off at himself at the whole goddamn situation. That evening, Noel had stayed late after school to return a book. He was now in the elevator. He thought everyone had gone home by now, which was why he was surprised when the elevator doors dinged open on the second floor. He raised his head from his phone and his stomach dropped. Rhett's eyes widened for a second like he hadn't expected this either, but he casually walked in the elevator. Desperate to get off fast, Noel immediately hit the G-floor button and stepped as far to the side as possible, while Rhett unusually pressed himself into the opposite corner like he was trying not to exist. The silence was suffocating. Noel didn't say a word. He refused to look at him, arms crossed, gaze fixed on the glowing floor numbers. 1 second ticked by, then 2, then the elevator jolted violently. Noel stumbled into the wall, and the elevator stopped moving. Noel blinked. What the hell was that? "Shit," Rhett muttered, slamming the open door and emergency buttons. "Nothing happened. I think it's stuck." Of course the universe decided this was the perfect time to trap Noel in a small metal box with the one person he was actively avoiding. Noel sighed and slid down to the floor, arms still crossed. Great. Rhett stayed standing, watching him. "You're really not gonna talk to me?" Noel didn't answer. Rhett stepped forward. "Seriously, still nothing?" Rhett's voice lowered. "I miss the sound of your voice." Noel's eyes flicked up in disbelief. "You miss bullying me?" "No," Rhett said. "I mean, yeah, maybe I was a dick. But I wasn't trying to. I don't even know what I was trying to do." Noel arched an eyebrow. "Congratulations. You've discovered self-awareness." Rhett ran a hand through his hair, pacing in the elevator. "You don't get it. You were always just there. All quiet and perfect, and doing your weird little art and piano thing. And he broke off. "You just what?" "I don't know," Rhett sighed, facing him again. "You got under my skin, and every time you ignored me, I hated it." Noel blinked and stared at him for a long time. "Good," he said simply. Rhett blinked. "What?" I hope it hurts, Noel said, tone even, because you made sure it hurt every time you looked at me like I was something to step on. And that left Rhett speechless. They sat in tense silence again. It's been a few minutes now. Noel sat cross-legged on the floor, trying to ignore Rhett's pacing. He'd been circling the elevators and breathing sharper than before. Noel glanced up. Stop pacing. You're making it worse. Rhett ignored him. His fingers were twitching, his eyes darting around the elevator as if looking for an escape. Just then the lights blinked off and emergency lights kicked on. It was dim and red, making the space feel impossibly smaller. Rhett froze. Then, there was a sound that made Noel's stomach tighten. Rhett's breath hitched. It was loud and desperate. His pacing started again, erratic this time. It was like he wasn't in control anymore. Rhett, Noel said carefully. Rhett didn't answer. He was shaking now, hands clenched into fists at his sides. His breathing turned rapid, and then he stumbled back to the wall, his hands clutched at his chest, trying to breathe. Noel's eyes widened. Rhett gasped. I can't, he stammered. He suddenly dropped to the floor, face twisted as he struggled to breathe. Shit. Without thinking, Noel scrambled closer. Rhett, hey, look at me. Rhett's head jerked up, but his eyes weren't focused. Sweat beaded at his hairline. He looked like a completely different person. Are you claustrophobic? Noel whispered. Rhett couldn't even nod. That was all the answer Noel needed. Rhett grabbed Noel's wrist, tightly and desperate, like letting go wasn't an option. Noel swallowed hard. He thought Rhett didn't break. But here he was trembling like a kid, holding on to Noel like he was the only solid thing in the world. Noel didn't pull away. He shifted closer, heart pounding, and cupped Rhett's hand in both of his. Okay, it's fine. You're okay, he murmured softly. Just breathe. Try to copy me all right. Rhett didn't speak. He just stared at him, wild-eyed. Noel inhaled slowly and loudly, then exhaled, in and out. He did it again, in and out. Rhett tried. It was shaky, but he tried. That's it, Noel whispered. You're not alone. Just focus on me. The elevator walls faded. It was just the sound of their breaths, the warmth of Rhett's hand clinging to Noel's like it meant everything. Minutes passed and the air settled. Rhett's breathing slowed. The tension in his shoulders loosened. He looked up, eyes rimmed with tears he hadn't let fall. And Noel didn't look away. He didn't tease or mock him. He just whispered, better. Rhett gave the smallest nod, still holding on to him and refusing to let go. They stayed like that for a long moment, pressed into the corner of the elevator, Rhett's hand still wrapped around Noel's wrist, even though his breathing had calmed. Noel didn't move. He just watched Rhett's jaw clench like he was trying not to fall apart again. Noel, thinking that maybe talking to him would distract him from falling apart, said softly, what started it? Rhett looked at him, confused. Noel cleared his throat. The claustrophobia. What made it start? Rhett looked away. For a moment, Noel thought he wouldn't answer. I was 9, Rhett said. Our garage door broke and my elder brother dared me to crawl into this old storage chest we had in the back. Said I was too chicken and I wanted to prove him wrong. He gave a breathy, humorless laugh. So I got in, and the lid slammed shut. Noel's brows scrunched. It locked, Rhett said. I couldn't open it from the inside, and my brother couldn't figure out how to open it from the outside. It was hot, dark, and the air felt like it was shrinking. His voice got smaller. I screamed for hours. Noel felt his throat tighten. My brother had to call my mom from work and she got held up by traffic for 2 hours. Since that day, I haven't been the same in small spaces since. Then he added, with a tight smile, so yeah. That's the tragic sob story of why I'm claustrophobic. Noel didn't say anything. Instead, almost before he realized he was doing it, he reached out and gently brushed a few damp strands of hair from Rhett's forehead. Rhett flinched slightly, but he didn't pull away. If anything, he leaned into it. Heavy silence stretched between them. It wasn't tense anymore, but Noel swallowed hard, realizing just how close their faces had gotten. Rhett's eyes dropped to his lips for a split second. Noel's hand was still in Rhett's hair. Rhett's grip on his wrist tightened just a little, like he didn't want him to stop. Neither of them moved. Just then the elevator jolted. The lights flickered to white. Both boys jolted back like they'd been caught doing something dangerous. Noel's heart pounded so fast as he stood up. Rhett sat frozen, eyes wide, cheeks flushed red. The door slid open. A teacher stood on the other side, blinking in confusion. There you are. We've been trying to override this elevator for 20 minutes. Are you boys okay? Noel nodded slowly. Yeah, he said, voice barely steady. We're fine. He rushed out, not once glancing back at Rhett. For the next few days, Rhett lingered by the hallway outside the music room, never going inside. Instead, Rhett would stand outside, fighting the urge to go inside and say something, anything. They passed each other in the hallways, those moments thick with words left unsaid. Noel's eyes would flick away quickly, while Rhett's gaze would linger longer than he wanted. One afternoon, as Noel rounded a corner near the lockers, Rhett's bully friend, Jace, appeared from behind and shoved Noel's shoulder hard. Hey freak, Jace said, loud enough for passing students to hear. Noel flinched, barely keeping his balance. Back off, Jace, Rhett's voice cut through. Jace turned to see Rhett walking towards them. What, you started teasing him first? Rhett's eyes darkened, his usual smirk gone. He looked almost sad at that statement. Shut up, just shut up. Jace shrugged, stepping closer. Or what? Rhett's voice dropped low and dangerous. Or I'll make you regret it. The students nearby fell silent, sensing the tension. Jace laughed nervously and took a step back. Relax, man. I was just messing around. Rhett glared at him. Don't mess with him. Not anymore. As Jace nervously said an excuse and walked away, Rhett turned to look at Noel, who was still frozen, eyes wide. For the first time, Rhett's protective instincts won over his old bullying ways. Noel snapped out of it and turned on his heel and walked away. Hey, Noel, wait, Rhett called out, his confidence cracking a little. Noel didn't look back, leaving Rhett standing alone wondering. Why was Noel avoiding him now? Later in class, Miss Hallie, the teacher said audibly. Group project pairings are up, Miss Hallie said, slapping a neat sheet of names onto the whiteboard. Due next Friday. No switching. Rhett scanned the list once. Then again, Noel was paired with Cole Halbridge. His stomach twisted. Miss Hallie. Rhett walked up to the teacher the moment class ended, voice to casual. Hey, could I maybe switch partners? She barely glanced up from her folder. Already set Rhett. But he started but was cut off. No switches. She turned and walked away, clearly done with the conversation. Rhett stood there, helpless. That afternoon, Rhett sat at the library, near the back, alone, pretending to read. But his eyes were locked on them. Not trying to be a stalker, but he had followed Noel and Cole. Noel and Cole was sitting across from each other at a corner table. Cole, with his dumb perfect hair and even dumber grin, was laughing at something Noel said. And Noel was smiling. Actually smiling. Rhett's chest burned. He wanted Noel to smile at him like that. Then Cole leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand. So, you always this talented, or are you just showing off 'cause you know I'm watching? Rhett couldn't hear Noel's answer, but he saw the way Noel's ears turned pink. He gripped his pencil so hard it snapped in half. What the hell was that? Rhett shoved his broken pencil into his bag and stormed out of the library. He couldn't sit there and watch someone else make Noel laugh again. Noel smiled politely as Cole explained their project idea, nodding where appropriate, but his eyes were somewhere else. Across the library, Rhett sat alone at the back, slouched in his chair, hood up, pretending to read a textbook he hadn't turned the page on in 20 minutes. Then suddenly Rhett stood, quickly, like something inside snapped. He shoved something into his bag and walked out, not looking at anyone. To Noel, Cole waved a hand in front of him, chuckling. I'm not that boring, am I? Noel flushed and looked back. Sorry. Just spaced out. Cole grinned. I was saying, we should totally do the presentation together. Like, stand side by side. I think we'd look good together. Noel gave a tight smile, fiddling with his pen. Maybe. Cole leaned in a little more, voice dropping like it was meant to be smooth. You ever think about getting coffee after this? Just us. We could go over the project, or not talk about school at all. Noel opened his mouth. He should say yes, right? Cole was funny, friendly and interested, but all he could picture was Rhett's hunched shoulders walking away. And that look in Rhett's eyes in the elevator, when he clung to Noel like he was the only thing holding him together. Noel looked down. Maybe, he said softly, not meeting Cole's gaze. Rhett didn't go home. He wandered the halls long after the library emptied. He was angry and he didn't know who he was angry at in particular. Why do I care? Why the hell do I care? It wasn't like Noel was his friend. He wasn't anything to him. He didn't even realize where his feet were carrying him until he pushed open the door and saw the faint light from the corner of the music room. And there sat Noel, with his head bent and fingers resting silently on the keys. The sound of the door shutting behind Rhett was too loud in the quiet. Noel's head snapped up and their eyes met. "Thought you hated music," Noel said softly, not looking away. Rhett shifted awkwardly. "I don't." Noel raised a brow. "You sure? Because the last time you caught me playing, you called it loser therapy." Rhett winced. "Yeah, I was being a jerk." Noel's hands hovered over the keys, but didn't play. "You usually are." Silence settled again. Then Rhett finally stepped closer, but not too close. "I saw you with Cole." Noel blinked. "Were you spying on me?" Rhett scoffed, trying way too hard to sound casual. "No, I just happened to walk by." Noel tilted his head. "Happened to walk by the library." "Yeah," Rhett said in a defensive tone and rubbed the back of his neck. Noel let out a soft laugh under his breath. "Right." Rhett stepped a little closer, gaze flicking down to the ground then back up to Noel's face. "He's into you, you know." Noel tilted his head. "Cole." Rhett didn't answer, just clenched his jaw like it physically pained him to say the guy's name. Noel turned away from the piano and stood, suddenly face to face with him. "What does it matter?" Rhett's eyes locked onto his like a magnetic force had snapped between them. "It matters." Noel narrowed his eyes. "Why?" Rhett hesitated. His voice dropped, raw and tight. "Because I don't like it." Noel's brows furrowed. "You don't get to not like it." "I know," Rhett said quickly. "I know. He broke off, eyes flicking away like the feelings were too big to say out loud. But the next part slipped out without permission. "I don't want anyone else looking at you like that." Noel froze. The words hung heavy. "You're not mine," Rhett added bitterly. "But I don't want him thinking you're his either." Noel's breath caught. "Rhett, what?" Rhett's voice cracked. "You don't get it." "I tried to ignore it. I've been trying. But then you stopped looking at me. And now you're God. You're laughing with him. And it's driving me insane." Noel took a step back, just one. But Rhett followed without thinking, eyes dark. "That's not fair," Noel whispered, cheeks flushed. "You can't treat me like garbage and then act like this just because someone else noticed me." "I know," Rhett breathed. "But I do notice you. I always have." Noel's heart slammed against his chest. The way Rhett was looking at him, it was hunger and guilt and desperation, all at once. "Stop looking at me like that," Noel said, voice trembling. "Why?" Rhett stepped even closer, now toe to toe. "You don't want me to." Noel didn't answer. He couldn't, because Rhett's hand had just brushed his, barely, and the spark that zipped between them made him dizzy. Noel's breath hitched as Rhett leaned in, voice rough and low, lips almost grazing his ear. "I can't stand how much I think about you." The piano behind Noel pressed into the back of his thighs. He hadn't even realized he'd backed up. Rhett's hands came to rest on either side of the bench, caging him in. His voice dipped further. "Tell me to stop and I will." No words came out of Noel. He hated him. He didn't hate him, but he wanted to. But the warmth of Rhett's body, the tremble in his voice, the way he was looking at him like he was the only person in the world. Noel grabbed the front of his shirt and yanked him forward. Their mouths crashed together, and the kiss wasn't soft. It was messy, breathless, angry. All their confusion, all the tension, years of teasing, avoidance, guilt, and wanting, poured into that one moment. Rhett groaned softly as Noel pushed him back a little and climbed onto his lap right there on the piano bench. "You drive me insane," Noel whispered against his mouth, hands threading into Rhett's hair. "Good," Rhett rasped, breath hitching as Noel kissed him again, slower this time. "We're even." After a few seconds, Noel suddenly turned his face away. The shift was so small, but Rhett felt it like a door slamming shut. Noel's breathing was uneven. His fingers slipped from Rhett's shirt, curling into his own lap instead. "I shouldn't have done that," he whispered. Rhett flinched. "Noel, it was a mistake," Noel said, cutting him off. Rhett's hands shot up, cupping Noel's cheeks before he could pull away entirely. "No," he said, firm but breathless. "Don't say that." Noel wouldn't look at him. "It was." Rhett's voice cracked with urgency. "Why are you running from this, from me?" Noel pulled back slightly, eyes flicking to his. And when he finally answered, his voice was quiet. Because I don't trust this. Rhett's brows drew together. What do you mean? I mean you, Noel said firmly. You've spent years pushing me around, Rhett, laughing at me, insulting me in front of everyone. What if you go back to that tomorrow? What if this is just a weird moment and I'm the idiot who thought it meant something? His voice trembled near the end, and he looked away fast. Rhett felt like someone had wrapped a fist around his heart. He reached out slowly and held Noel's hand between his own. I'm not going back, Rhett said softly. I swear. Noel didn't speak. I was a dick to you, Rhett admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I know I was. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. It was childish and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with you. Noel finally looked up at him, brows tight. What does that even mean? It means, Rhett said, leaning in a little closer, I've been obsessed with you for longer than I even understood. And instead of dealing with that like a normal person, I did everything wrong. I thought if I could just make you look at me, even if it was because you hated me, it would be enough. Noel stared, stunned. I wanted your attention, Rhett whispered. Even if it was not the good kind, I just wanted you to see me. The room was too quiet, the words too heavy, too real. Noel swallowed. That's really stupid of you. But you really didn't hate me. Rhett gave a small smile. I was jealous of your calm. Of how good you were. Of how you could just exist without needing anyone's approval. And the piano, God, the way you play. I never knew how to handle how much I felt you when you played. Noel's cheeks turned red, and for the first time since he pulled away, he didn't look like he wanted to run. I'm not good at this, Rhett said quietly. But I know I don't want this to be a mistake. Noel let out a long breath. Then prove it. Rhett blinked. What? If you mean it, Noel said, steady now. Prove it's not just the moment talking. Rhett straightened, met his eyes. I will. Noel nodded once, and this time, he didn't pull away when Rhett reached for his hand again. Noel didn't expect things to change overnight. He expected Rhett to hesitate, to pull away, maybe even pretend it hadn't happened. But he didn't. He didn't ignore Noel in the hallway. Instead, he ignored his friends and Walker with Noel. He sat beside him during class, and when Mr. Langley paired the class for a debate exercise, and Rhett's friend tried to switch spots to save him from working with the piano princess, Rhett looked him dead in the eye and said, I asked to work with him. It shut everyone up. Noel had looked at him, surprised. Rhett didn't even meet his eyes, just continued flipping open the textbook like it wasn't a big deal. It kept happening. He defended him when someone snorted at the way Noel always stayed behind in the music room after hours. What? You jealous he has talent? It wasn't even said with malice. Rhett was genuinely curious. Noel heard it in passing, his heart thudding. It was a Thursday. Noel stayed late in the music room alone. He heard the door open and watched as Rhett walked in slowly with something in his hands. I noticed you didn't eat today, he said. You barely touched anything at lunch. Noel blinked as Rhett set the food down on the piano. It's just those weird rice things you like. The ones with tuna or whatever. I don't get them. But you always eat them on Thursdays. Noel stared. You noticed that? Rhett scratched the back of his neck. I notice a lot of things about you. Noel's voice was quiet. That's kind of creepy. Kind of sweet. Rhett shot back, smirking. But it was less cocky. More honest. Noel looked away. His chest felt too full. You didn't have to, he murmured. I wanted to. Rhett sat beside him on the bench. Not too close, but not for either. Play something for me, he asked. Noel hesitated. Then he played. And Rhett stayed beside him the whole time, listening like the notes were made for him. Noel didn't realize he was smiling until halfway through. After that afternoon, suddenly, Noel couldn't go anywhere without hearing the faint sound of someone following him. At first, he thought it was paranoia, but when he turned around near the science lab, there was Rhett, pretending to examine a plant he had never once cared about. Then again in the cafeteria, sitting one table away, wearing sunglasses indoors, sipping juice like he was undercover in a spy movie. Are you stalking me? Noel finally asked on the third day. No, Rhett replied quickly, too quickly. Just coincidence. You're in my biology class now. I switched. Needed a better educational environment. It got worse. Every time Noel turned a corner, Brett was there. Noel walked into the library. Brett was already seated. Noel walked into the art studio. Brett emerged from behind a canvas like a ghost. Brett, Noel hissed one day at him. Why are you everywhere? Brett blinked innocently. Coincidence. You just happened to walk by the music room, the art room, the library, the cafeteria, and the locker rooms, all in one period. I'm on a journey of self-discovery. Noel gave him the flattest look known to mankind. Find yourself somewhere else. So, in a desperate bid for peace, Noel ducked into bathroom, hoping Rhett wouldn't follow. He slipped into the farthest stall, locked it, and let out a long sigh of relief. Peace, he whispered to himself, finally. Except fate hated him, because the door to the bathroom creaked open and heavy footsteps entered. But it wasn't Rhett, it was them. 3 of Rhett's old friends. Hey, one of them sneered, voice echoing in the tiled room. Little piano princess hiding again. Rhett's puppy, another said with a smirk. Guess he got tired of you, huh? Noel froze in the stall, heartbeat thudding. Bet he was just messing with you. You think a guy like him would actually go soft for a nobody? Their voices turned sharper, crueler. Noel clenched his fists. This is fine. I've dealt with this before. But then, the bathroom door slammed open. What the hell are you doing in here? It was Rhett. His voice was dark and low, and pissed. The 3 boys flinched as he stormed in, glaring. Oh look, one of them tried weakly. Your pet's in here hiding. Shut up. Rhett crossed the room in a heartbeat and shoved one of them back. Not too hard, but enough. You think you can corner him when I'm not around? You think I wouldn't find out? We were just. Get out. Rhett's voice was pure fire. Before I lose what little patience I have left. The bullies scrambled out. Noel slowly stepped out of the stall, blinking. Did you follow me into the bathroom? He asked. Rhett turned to him, face still flushed with fury but now softening slightly. I saw you go in the bathroom, but I was gonna wait for you to come out, until I saw them following you. Noel folded his arms. You've been following me all day. I prefer the term shadowing. That's worse. Then Rhett cleared his throat. Anyway, since I'm here, he scratched the back of his neck, suddenly awkward. Wanna go out with me? Noel blinked. What? Not like out. I mean, yes, out, but not fancy. Just fun, I thought. Maybe the arcade. Noel raised an eyebrow. You followed me into a bathroom and then asked me on a date. Rhett's ears went red. When you put it like that. There was a pause. Then Noel smiled, just a little. Okay. Rhett blinked. Wait, really? Yeah, I mean, if you're this annoyingly persistent, might as well let you win a few tickets before I destroy you at skee ball. Rhett grinned. Game on, piano boy. That night, as Rhett drove them to a quiet little arcade on the edge of town, Noel's hands twisted nervously in his lap. He stared out the window, pretending not to sneak glances at the boy behind the wheel. Rhett looked stupidly good, his hair messy, sleeves rolled up, veins showing on his hands as he turned the wheel. You okay? Rhett asked, side-eyeing him briefly. Noel nodded too quickly. Yeah, fine. The car was warm, too warm, or maybe it was just him. Rhett reached down to grab his phone from the cup holder without looking, but his hand missed and landed right on Noel's lap. They both froze. Rhett's fingers lingered for a second too long before he jerked his hand away like he'd touched fire. Sorry, Rhett muttered, ears red. Didn't mean to. It's fine. Noel cut in quickly, face flushed, heart slamming in his chest. But it wasn't fine. He was tense all over. His skin tingled where Rhett had touched him. They finally arrived at the arcade. Ready to lose? Rhett asked, smirking as they walked in. Noel raised a brow. I'm good at games. You're gonna eat your words. They started with skee ball. Noel got a perfect streak of high scores. Rhett cursed under his breath and demanded a rematch. Next was basketball. Rhett was cocky until Noel's sharp aim knocked every shot in. You're rigging these, Rhett grumbled. You're just bad at games, Noel teased, smirking. Oh yeah. Rhett stepped closer, their shoulders brushing. Bet you can't beat me in air hockey. Challenge accepted. At one point, while reaching for the puck at the same time, their fingers touched and neither of them moved away. Rhett's throat felt dry. He kept watching Noel's mouth when he smiled. He was itching to kiss him. He didn't know if he was imagining it, but Noel kept glancing at his lips too. After the game, they both walked back to the car. Noel could barely breathe. Inside the parked car, neither of them said anything for a moment. The silence was thick. Rhett stared straight ahead, tapping his fingers on the wheel. Rhett turned to him slowly. Noel. Noel looked over. I wanted to kiss you all night, Rhett blurted quietly. Noel froze. Then, in a small voice he whispered, then why didn't you? Suddenly, Rhett leaned forward and their mouths met. It was desperate. Rhett's hand came up to cradle the back of Noel's head, tilting him just right. Noel kissed him back fiercely, fingers curling in Rhett's hoodie. When they finally broke apart, Rhett rested his forehead against Noel's. I've wanted to do that since the elevator, he whispered. Noel swallowed, breath shaky. I've wanted to do that since you insulted my piano playing. They both laughed breathless, dazed. The next day, Noel had never ridden in Rhett's car before school before. He thought it would feel weird, but it didn't. Rhett's hand kept brushing his on the console, like he needed to keep touching him or he'd disappear from his sight. His playlist was surprisingly soft and chill. Nothing like the loud, cocky boy who used to throw paper at the back of Noel's head. Now that boy was driving him to school, and had kissed him breathless the night before. You sure you want to do this? Noel asked as they pulled into the parking lot. Rhett looked at him. Do what? Noel turned to face Rhett fully. This, us, walking in together. Rhett smirked. You mean, showing you off and making it clear to everyone that you're mine? Noel blinked. His heart stuttered. Aren't you worried people will talk? I want them to talk, Rhett said. I want them to know I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I just want you. Noel couldn't breathe for a second. Then he smiled. Rhett got out, walked around the front, and opened Noel's door like it was a date. And then he held his hand. Right there, in the school parking lot. At first, heads turned. Eyes widened. Some people gawked. Others gasped. It was Rhett, holding hands with the boy he used to bully. But Rhett didn't flinch. He tightened his grip on Noel's hand, fingers laced perfectly with his. He wanted them to be seen. They walked in like that, past stunned faces, past former friends Rhett had long since stopped calling his own. Noel, for the first time ever, didn't feel small. He felt seen. The music room door was open as they passed it. Rhett tugged Noel aside for a second. You know, I still think about that day, Rhett said. You playing that piano. Noel smiled, tilted his head and glaring playfully at Rhett. You mean the day you insulted me for it? Rhett laughed and leaned in to whisper against his cheek. Yeah, that one. Sorry for being the world's dumbest idiot. You kinda were, Noel murmured, grinning. Rhett didn't answer. He just leaned in and kissed him, right in the middle of the hallway. And when they pulled apart, Rhett's smile looked like something permanent. They weren't hiding anymore. The bully and the boy he used to torment now walked the halls hand in hand, together. Because somehow, in a broken elevator with red emergency lights flashing, they found something worth holding on to. And they never let go. The end.